I'm not your girlfriend. Let me tell you about that time I had to put the fear of God into a magician. I was 7 years old and had just switched schools that same year. Our teacher told us that there was to be a special presentation for the entire school that afternoon. So all the children were called out of class and seated along the perimeter of the school courtyard. And guess what? The dairy magician appeared with his assistant in tow. Yay! Fun times! For context, Dairy is a company in Trinidad that sells milk, powdered milk, and other milk-derived products. They had the brilliant idea of increasing brand recognition through a series of upbeat commercials and through recruiting a magician for a nationwide proselytizing school tour. Anyway, back to me being 7 years old and not knowing words like proselytizing. Abracadabra, dairy! That was the call and response between the student body and the magician. Every time he was about to reveal a trick, he would shout, Abracadabra! And only after the school responded with, Dairy! Would we be rewarded with the reveal. So this went on for some time. He called upon willing and not so willing volunteers from the student body to help him with his tricks. All volunteers were rewarded with a small packet of powdered milk for their trouble. Eventually, at some point in the spectacle, the magician brought out a strange-looking doll. Apparently, he was also a ventriloquist, and this doll was his ventriloquist dummy. He proceeded to engage in conversation with the doll. To be quite honest, I didn't catch most of what he was saying. So while I was sitting there, zoning out, during what was, in my opinion, the least stimulating part of the show, the doll said something that prompted the children around me to look in my direction. The doll then repeated it. I have a girlfriend. Her name is Asha. Huh? Asha, look, he calling you, girl. Look, he calling you. At that time, there were 3 girls named Asha at my school. One was just a year or 2 older than me, and the other, the eldest, was either in standard 4 or 5, at about 10 years old. As children started to nudge me with increasing intensity, I looked around desperately for the other 2 Ashas. But alas, as the youngest Asha and the newest in the school, it appeared that I was going to be the sacrificial lamb. Those classmates sitting around me eventually managed to push me out into the courtyard, and I begrudgingly made my way to the front where the magician with his doll stood waiting. The doll said, Look, it's Asha, my girlfriend. To which I replied frustratedly through clenched teeth and folded arms, I am not your girlfriend. Yes, you are my girlfriend. No, I'm not. Yes, you are. Give me a kiss. The next thing I remember is 7-year-old me getting utterly exasperated with his calumny of insisting I was his girlfriend. I didn't know what did it. What tipped me over the edge? Was it his request for a kiss? But summoning up all the disparate bits of martial arts knowledge I had seen in my short life, I launched the highest, most perfectly aimed sidekick I had ever executed before or since. Heeeeeyah! It didn't connect with the doll's stupid face. My intention wasn't to hurt him, but just to scare him a little and get him to shut up about our unrequited imaginary relationship. As I retracted my leg to its resting position, I glanced at the magician's assistant as she looked on horrified. I was genuinely confused about her reaction, but I collected my packet of milk from her, my token for volunteering, and for my inconvenience, I'd like to think, and sauntered back to my seat, in a now quieted student assembly. The vibe had changed, but I was so happy to be out of the spotlight that I didn't immediately notice. Anyway, the show continued as I sat down. A few minutes elapsed when I felt a tap on my shoulder. It was my cousin telling me that the vice principal wanted to see me in the classroom that we were sitting in front of. Okay, I thought, that's weird, but I was summoned, so I got up. The show had become increasingly tedious anyway. As I entered the class, I was immediately assaulted with 3 swift slaps. Don't ever do that again! I was in a kerfuffle. What? Do what? Oh, that. But he called me his girlfriend. Look, just go and sit back down and behave yourself. I resumed my place in the assembly, and my cousin, who correctly guessed what had just happened, began taunting me. You get licks now. You get licks. Pridefully, holding back tears, I denied being beaten, but the rest of the afternoon passed in a blur. I sat there, pondering on the gravity of what I had done. A response to harassment that in the moment I felt was perfectly vilified. I assumed a great sense of shame. That evening after school, while hanging around the school courtyard, waiting for my dad to pick me up, I was approached by a younger student. He gazed at me in open, unreserved admiration and asked, Hey, you the girl who kicked the magician? Ways! It seemed that I had become an unwitting folk hero. As the years passed, and I grew older, even into adulthood, the phenomenon of people making innocent and unsolicited pairings of me with men I expressed no interest in continued. Oh, Asher, you'll have such great chemistry. Oh, Asher, 2 Capricorns share undeniable stubborn energy. I have, of course, devised more elegant solutions than a fly kick to the teeth in deterring such misguided romantic pairings. But I am not always polite about it, especially when such self-appointed matchmakers know that I am already in a relationship. So strife, bacchanal, and mischief are their motivations. Sometimes I wonder if that magician still thinks about that little girl who kicked at his doll. I wonder if he dropped the part of his act where he called random little girls his girlfriend.